My favorite play, I'm kind of cheating a little bit. It was recent. It's the double ace I don't think anybody can forget. And it sticks in my mind because even I lost myself in the chaos of the fight. Here we go. Sinaka may take him down, but the Zanya's play. Everybody jumps on one spot. All the eggs in one basket. He's still alive. Shifter finally goes down to the end.
Double ace.
Breath and the double ace. Nobody's going to end the game. And I didn't know who was dead, how they were dying, where it was going until the dust kind of cleared, and then you saw that everybody was lying on the ground and nobody was there to win the game.
And welcome back to the North American LCS Spring Playoffs. I am Trevor Quickshot Henry alongside Joshua Jatleesman and once again, of course, Saint Vicious. We're just minutes away from our next matchup, Dignitas versus Curse. But real quick, I want to check in what you've been saying over at Twitter. Earlier today, we asked you, who is the most clutch player in the North American LCS and why? And here's what you guys had to write. From @CaptainCorf, it says Reginald. This dude didn't play for months, then he comes back from retirement and stomps. It's the definition of clutch. Jat, what do you think?
I'm not sure what the definition of clutch really is, but that was a clutch move for him to come in. They had a better winning percentage, actually, with Reginald than with Bjergsen.
He got himself week
Really?
8.
I didn't know that.
And week 8 MVP as well, if I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you for that one.
Fancy stats.
Next one from @Hannah Freiberg. Aframu, he's shown how a support matters in game and how to engage in the right moments. He's the definition of a support carry. Saint, what do you think of Aframu?
I think the thing I like about Aframu the most is not only can he play those big playmaking jungler, or big playmaking supports like Thresh, but he can also play Lulu. Like you saw in that last game, did great.
Yeah, very good play. Next one from @NSCU Wolf. The most clutch player in the LCS is probably Cloud9's Meteos. Those turnaround ganks have rebounded Cloud9 on more than one occasion. And what do you think, Chat?
I mean, one thing I'd say more about Meteos is he's unfazed by a lot of these things. He'll just continue to do his plays no matter what. He's like a machine created by Lemonation some of the time. And clutch play sold the Nexus.
He's pretty non-phased by a lot of things, even in interviews. Pretty blasé, laid-back dude. Anyways, thank you all for the responses. Keep them coming. Tweet to us @LOL Esports and remember to use that hashtag LCS. Now, we've heard who you think the clutch players are, but Dignitas is bringing Skara back to the fold at a critical juncture. With so much at stake, Skara says he's ready to leave it all on the Rift.
Skara's back. Now we're going to win.
It just makes me really glad to have Skara back.
I was actually excited that Skara's going to be back. I'm really good friends with him, and I think he's a good player.
I get a phone call from management, and so he pretty much told me, like, look, I'm back on the team. The first thought I was like, how badly could the scrims have gone?
The team as a whole, like, we know we have a week to practice with Skara, so we're just going to go hard and just kick some ass.
I found out that I was off the team a couple of weeks ago. Honestly, I accepted it pretty quickly. I knew I had been underperforming quite a bit. I was not confident in myself, and a lot of that just stemmed from the fact that I had multiple barriers mentally that I was struggling to overcome.
Early on, I felt terrible about what happened.
He was pretty much plucked out of his mid lane position and stuck into coaching just out of the blue.
He's pretty much the person that got me into competitive leagues, so seeing him go made me like a little sad, honestly. Even though I don't like to admit, like, oh man.
The best thing about the movement to coach wasn't just like that I could overlook the players or any of that. It was mainly that there's a lot less pressure on me to do anything. Watch the scrims instead of playing in them, analyze the scrims together as a team, and then went to sleep. So it felt still kind of like I was a player, but there was just a lot less stress on me.
He did an incredible job coaching. I could not see somebody being able to fulfill that position better.
He was actually a phenomenal coach, though.
I'd love to have Skara as the coach and as like our mid laner, but that's something that's impossible to have, being an exceptional mid laner and teaching all of us how to play the game.
We're all excited for the playoffs. We think we'll perform really well, and we think we'll take down Curse.
I think our week's going to come out as a surprise and as a victory.
The meta right now favors a lot of champions that Skara plays, so we're actually very comfortable with him, even though he's been the coach.
Obviously, whenever big changes happen in your life, like reflections, I feel like necessary. You look back and you're like, well, what have I accomplished? And like, what have I done? Even if my career stops now, that I don't have many regrets. I played League to pursue my one goal in life, which was happiness. I followed through with that pursuit, and I found it through playing. And whatever happens now, happens.
He's smart, he's handsome, he's just an overall splendid dude. He's helped carry us to like being an LCS standard team. Without him, we were struggling, so he could do anything that he wants, man.
I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna try my ass off for this weekend. And then after then, we'll see what happens.
A very emotional piece there, listening to the team. Overall, Dignitas sound happy to have Scara back, but you have to ask the very serious questions. How bad were those scrims? Let's talk about what your thoughts are on Scara coming back.
I mean, some of the numbers we touched on in the previous show with Golden Glue being 20 CS below the average CS at 10 minutes for mid laners. And Scara, when he did get benched, it was for a reason necessarily. He was underperforming. Not to mention, if he has been focusing on coaching, his gameplay might actually be lower than it was when he left. I think it's a very imperfect solution to their problem. They're hoping it works because they clearly get along. They definitely like Scara, but I have to question how practiced he's going to be coming into this and how much of an upgrade over Golden Glue he's really going to be.
Yeah, especially a player who had a limited champion pool already, and he's lost Gragas.
He can play Karthus now.
Well, we'll see. It is time for our next quarterfinal matchup, Dignitas versus Team Cursed. Now, Saint, does coaching have any sort of advantage or perspective that would help Scara now that he's come back to active duty?
I think it gives you a better outline of how the game should be played. Because, I mean, you're telling everybody, like, hey, you guys should be pressuring this, should be going to here, should be doing that. But now you're in the game, and you're like, oh, I can just tell them to do that in game. So I think as a leadership role, it helps out a lot. But I'm just still worried about how much Scar has played. I think he was at PAX all last week, so we'll see.
We'll have to see. Hopefully he didn't catch the PAX Plague, which I hear is terrible on this side of the world. Now, Jack, Dignitas' only win over Curse this year was with Golden Glue in the mid lane. Is it a risk for them to go back to Scara, an old lineup that has already lost to Curse 3 times?
I don't think it's any bigger risk for them. I still think the weight of all this is going to fall on the rest of the Dignitas organization and the rest of their team. I think Scar will actually do okay against Voidboy. I don't necessarily think Voidboy is going to run him over in the mid lane, but it's going to be about the other assets.
On that token, Voidboy, who would he prefer? I mean, he's played both already.
Isn't he 3-0 against Scara? Stats don't lie, man. I think he'd rather play against Scara.
Well, he's got that wish for this particular matchup. Now, we are going to be heading into the game in just a moment or two, and I think the next thing I want to talk about is the two junglers. I Will Dominate and Crumbs. Both junglers, very aggressive, both like to get in your face. We are in a patch or a meta where aggressive junglers are doing well. Let's start with Saint Vicious. What's your take on both of these individual players coming to the series?
To be honest, I think it's just as far as relative skill and play style, I think they're dead even. I think that you're not going to find as close of a matchup between junglers in the LCS across any region. And I also think that both junglers are people that are going to have the best grasp of how the Feral Flare should be used in the new jungle. I've watched EU LCS, I've watched NA LCS, I've watched OGN, and every time I've seen Feral Flare brought out, it's like, you're like playing at like 50% efficiency. You're playing at like 70% efficiency. And I think these are going to be the two players who are like, okay, that's how you're supposed to use the item. So I think everybody needs to watch.
Yeah, both these junglers know how to farm, and Crumbs in particular, I feel like adapts to new champions almost faster than anyone. I've seen him jungle absolutely everything. And when I look at Crumbs, I actually kind of see a jungler who is overburdened with responsibility on Dignitas. His lanes don't necessarily do that well. He is almost solely responsible for their vision, their killing, their ganks, their objective control, everything. He has to do too much. And adding Feral Flare on top of that might push him over the edge of responsibilities and make him pull back on other things. I do think Dominate will have an edge in the matchup, not because he's better, but because I think his lanes have the advantage.
Well, we'll have to see how that plays out. We're going to send this one back over to Freak and Kobe this time to take us on to our next matchup.
Thank you very much, Quickshot. What's up, guys? I am back. Kobe is now joining me. Thank you for replacing Jat.
You're welcome.
I love casting with you. You give me gifts, and you make my jokes sound so much better. Thank you. Let's get right to it, though. Dignitas versus Team Curse. Now, Kobe, Curse has given, they've been a team that's given Dignitas a hard time this year. But in the last meeting, Dignitas did win. They got the score back to 1-3, so there's a chance, of course.
Yeah, Curse have shown that they can pull out a surprise strategy, and they have earned a reputation in the league for being unpredictable. So we can expect them to at least have something prepared for the first game, if not all of the eventual games. They've also run comps, anywhere from that bash push with a solo Janna lane to an all-damage assassin reset team. Both of those were run with mixed success. And I just say that they really jump on new metas pretty quickly.
Yeah, we'll see if they found a good one this time around. Of course, these are two teams that have spent some time in the #1 position, but they consistently finish in the middle of the pack since they've started in the LCS. It's made for a highly contested showdown whenever they meet.
Yeah, these two teams do have a tangled history, and they've traded more than a few players back and forth. And this is the second year that they are locked in a battle for 4th place. A win here would be an important shot at the top-tier teams.
Yeah, it's going to be, we'll see what the guys do with this one. We're going to see who gets their shot in just a minute. Dignitas versus Curse is a matchup. It's been a long-time rivalry. Curse, though, they believe their ability to adapt will give them the edge in this best-of-3 series.
I think we are in a good spot against Curse right now. I mean, they did take the first 3 games.
In our 3 victories, we prepared very well against them.
We did take off the last game of the season against them, which is like pretty good.
It's just like a bloodbath between us. We just like duke it out. Like one team wins, the other team loses.
We're the type of team that can adapt over the course of multiple games, and a lot of teams can't.
I think if we just have a perfectly executed laning phase, and then we go to like that dragon fight with confidence and we play really well, we just outplay them, I think that can snowball the game for us.
Just historically, we've always won in best-of-3s against Curse, so definitely we have the upper hand against them.
The Nexus goes down, and that is it! Dignitas takes it into the top 4!
Right now, I would say we are at our strongest point that we've been in all season.
We always have an easier time against them than other teams have.
It honestly does feel like a grudge match. I'm not exactly sure why, but it does feel like that. See how the match shapes up. We're going to check out the starting lineups now. On the blue side, Team Dignitas. Cruiser in the top lane, Crumbs in the jungle, Skara in mid, I'm a Cutie Pie on AD carry, and Kiwi Kid on support.
And on the red side, it's Curse. Up top is Quas. In the jungle, I will dominate. Mid is Voyboy, AD carry Cop, and supporting him, Bunny Fufu.
And our featured matchup in the series is once again the mid lane, Skara versus Voyboy.
Yeah, what else could it be? Fans everywhere are anxious to see how longtime veteran Skara does back on the rip. Before he took over as coach, Skara was having a shaky split. In his last week of play, he was 7th in kills and 5th in KDA among the mid laners. But Dignitas attributed a portion of their recent success to Skara's big picture perspective and his ability to coach the team and give them a bigger picture view of the game.
Yeah, we'll see if Dignitas looks like a better team this time around. Dig is going to need him to bring that knowledge because he faced up against Voyboy, who is undefeated against Skara this year.
Yeah, we've seen Voyboy is a player that can set up and have a big impact for his team. This is Voyboy's best matchup, by the way. 10.7 KDA in their 3 wins versus Dignitas, compared to Skara's 1 KDA. But through the split, Voyboy has been inconsistent, and he averages a 2.5 KDA amongst the other teams in the league.
Yeah, you saw their stats actually in their head-to-head graphic. They're basically identical stat lines. CS a little better for Skara, KDA a little bit better for Voyboy. It's just like the head-to-head that works so much better. And it's fun, like, you know, we talked about the fact that these teams traded players before. Voyboy was the top laner for Dignitas way back in the day, so he's like played alongside Skara, and old habits die hard. Like, there's still going to be those Skara-isms that are still going to be there. That Voy is like, well, I know how you play, and can play around them. I mean, you're seeing that in this matchup.
Well, one of them is not going to be there is the Gragas, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But as they said, this meta does kind of favor Skara's playstyle. He was always known as being able to outfarm his opponent. That's how he gained a big advantage. He would get a lot of money, and then towards the mid game is where he would bring his power to bear in like team fights and stuff. So maybe we'll see him on one of those safer champions in farming with the Karthus or with the Orianna, something like that. Because really right now, it's not the League of Assassins anymore. It's more about heals and shields and longer drawn out team fights.
It is, and we're going to see, actually, I was wondering if he was going to learn the champ, but Nidalee comes through for Skara. You talked about safe long-range champs.
Yeah, very...
I haven't seen much Skara Nidalee, I feel like.
We haven't seen much of it, but it is one of those long-range mages, and it is a very popular champion right now just because of the power that she has late game. She can turn complete objectives or team fights around with only 2 spears.
Yep.
And both of these teams with very quick bans, by the way, coming out with their plans laid for this first game matchup.
Yeah, so it's going to be Bunny Fufu's Thresh, Quas's Rise, and Voyboy's LeBlanc goes away. Meanwhile, the Skara, Soraka. I like that one. Used to play that one back in the day. Curse, though, I want to see where their picks actually go towards because there's a lot out on the field. Most roles only got 1 or 2 bans here, so he says, you know what, maybe Xin Zhao is the most important jungler. Top lane Mundo, interestingly enough, is going to be the lock-in for Quas.
Interesting here. The junglers were definitely talked up a lot coming into this matchup. And Saint was of the opinion that Xin Zhao is the strongest jungler right now. We can see that opinion shared at least a little bit by the team that he's coaching here. Dominate opting for that one early. He's a very well-rounded jungler now. It used to be that he was all about the early game and his very high-powered ganks. But since he thrives with the Pharaoh Flare, he also has a late game. You have infinite scaling with Pharaoh Flare.
True.
Once you get to the late game, kills or monster kills, everything awards you more damage, but also more sustain.
That's a big deal. You get into those team fights, and as long as you get the actual combine going through, you can keep it going on. Lucian already grabbed for I'm a Cutie Pie. He's going to be playing that one for himself. Skara going to make the lock-in for his team.
Yeah,
and he's support for Kiwi Kid. No surprise there.
No surprises for the duo there. Lock-in from Dignitas. We've seen so many big plays from Kiwi Kid when he's on Annie. They really rely on him for the initiations, and they've rarely been out of sync. He has a really good line of communication with the rest of the team and a very good understanding with Cutie Pie. They play together so much. They're both kind of on a different level, but they're on the same different level.
Yeah, they are. They have their own sense of humor, and it's wonderful and magnificent. And as long as they both get along, that's perfect.
Yeah. Now, the other thing I really want to talk about is the heal on Mundo. Heal, big buff to Mundo in the current state of the patch. I think that he's going to stick with this heal teleport combo so he can remove any ignites. I don't expect to see ignites from Dignitas, but he can remove any sort of healing debuff that way. And the move speed bonus makes it a semi-escape and a semi-initiate for him too. Heal is really the jack of all trades when it comes to summoners. It's so good in almost every situation.
And you're going to see how many get brought out on both sides of the lineup. Right now, it's going to be Corki, Leona, heavy magic damage lane here for Curse's duo there of Cop and Bunny Fufu. With Thresh banned away, he can't play as most played his favorite champion, but should be okay, hopping with the power of the sun.
Yeah, it actually used to be used as a kill lane a long time ago because he can proc her Sunlight proc so easily, and the burst damage is there even before level 6.
True. It's a scary lane. The chasing is actually really strong as well. You've got locked in, you've got chasing. It's going to be tough to play against. And honestly, like Annie versus Leona is a bit difficult for Annie because you can't like burst down the tank in the front line, so you can only hit the escapable Corki.
And the main thing that they're looking for with that Leona is long-range engage for Nidalee. Whenever you're going up against Nidalee, you have to be worried about the end game. You want to be able to close distance. Leona is great for that. So we'll have to see if there's some sort of an answer from Dignitas, maybe an early Crucible from them. I don't think that they can go that way, though, having locked in Annie so early, who really favors that move speed and the talisman.
True.
Have to see where Kiwi Kid actually decides to spend his money early. There's two pretty good options for him to go with.
Yeah, the only real disengage tool is the fact that you can maybe drop a cocoon down and then like Tibbers hopefully locks down the front line.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Hope that works out.
That's why, I mean, there's a lot of pressure on Kiwi Kid here to deal with the hard engage. It's either going to be cleansing someone or it is that speed buff that he's going to try and provide.
And I want to see what the last pick is for Curse. They're going to look. They were hovering Syndra. Or sorry, they're hovering Akali. They're hovering Syndra now. I am curious to see where it goes. Actually, yes. The Yasuo. Now, there's only a few knockouts, but Yasuo's got good engage.
Yeah, since there are so few knockups, this is pretty much about the lane matchup. A lot of Koreans, or not, you know, Yasuo into Nidalee is one of the few matchups that people actually like to take Yasuo in among mages in the mid lane now because he does have that kill pressure. And talk about closing the gap.
Yeah.
Yasuo also has the ability to negate spears in the late game, protecting everybody with his ginormous wind walls.
It'll be up easily once per minion wave, so if you want to play offensive or defensive, you can say, okay, during the duration of this minion wave, we can block all the javelins.
Yeah.
You talk about summoner spell picks, there are a couple of ignites there, exhaust for Scar to survive the all-ins.
So, yeah, exhaust all around amazing against assassins like Yasuo.
Yep.
So that's why we don't see a lot of them, but because he's such a good pick against Nidalee, that's why they're going for it. Good to leave that as a last pick.
Yeah, it's good adaptation. So as the teams load onto the Rift, let's tally the votes over at LOL Esports. 54% think that Dignitas is going to come out on top. Very close.
I like that because this is definitely the closest match I think that we're going to have today, especially since coming into this is the match where both teams have prepared. So we get to see how good their theory crafting is. As the best of 3 goes longer, and we get to see the adaptations and the differences with side choices. But really the first game is so exciting because we get to see what they feel is very strong in 4.5, which is fairly new for these guys.
We'll see it happen. Now remember, guys, throughout the game, we will be checking in with you at Twitter to see who you think will win.
Yeah, tweet your choices using that hashtag DigWin or the hashtag CurseWin to @LOL Esports. And we will periodically be showing that graph and decide if the fans
are you guys right?
are fickle or if they will stick to their initial votes.
Well, I mean, I think it's fair to like get evidence and then change your opinion.
Yeah.
That's just being scientific. Like, I thought Dignitas would win, but Curse for 10-0, you know what? I feel like I'm going to change my option here. See which way it goes right now. The stun charged up here for Kiwi Kid. Also goes for a Spell Thief's Edge. I don't see that actually pan out amazingly for Annie typically. Just 'cause it's a bit hard to get stacks, especially against the Leona lane. But
yeah, they're probably expecting 2v1 situations because they're so common nowadays. 4.5 with all the invades to protect junglers' first buffs, which are, to be fair, extremely important. And there's a reason that everybody does that. There are other plays that you can do. You can everybody stack up and try and defend a buff, or you can invade the off buff. It's just that the other plans involve a little bit more risk, and each extra ounce of risk that you have in the early game makes these teams very uncomfortable. They don't want to have the other team snowball an early lead off of level 1 just because of they chose the wrong buff to invade.
yeah, so Curse playing a bit risk averse here. I actually want to check back on the Summoner Spell picks because we actually have a pretty varied lineup actually. So as per normal, everyone's running Flash, but it's two exhausts here for Curse. Mid laner and support running exhaust, primarily for the Jax, I'm guessing. Scar running exhaust for Void Boys. Yasuo, as you talked about. But Ignite for Kiwi Kid, so kill pressure here in this bottom lane.
Yeah, he actually is opting with the old Summoner Spell, Ignite. It got a little buff as well. You got to give him some love. You can get vision of people if they go into a bush while they're Ignite, then you will continue to see them.
Ignite?
I'm going with Wombat on that one.
Ignite, all right. It's fair enough. Gonna make a sweater.
All right, so the buff trade here, this is the new normal start for everybody. And it looks like it will transition into that 4-man level 2 lane push. Yeah, the double jungles coming out from both sides.
Slightly different looks for the two, though. So
Ooh, Shinsao going back to get his buff.
Yeah, exactly. I will dominate soloed his own buff, got level 2, and is going to grab his own red. Meanwhile, Quas is just taking the white by himself. I guess he's not going to recall backwards because, again, it's a 4v0. I guess he could just regen without it. And then they'll group up for the 4-man push. Meanwhile, it's the duo jungle here for the Dignitas group.
Yeah, so Dominate had a longer path to walk, but he is going to hit that level 3. It looks like Mundo actually trying to do some jungling of his own. So they're on the top lane. That turret has the champion reduction. And they're also taking the longer route. So Dignitas are by far going to have the lead in the turret rushdown. They've just gone with the level 2s. Whereas Dominate here, teaming up with Quas for the double golems has hit that level 3.
Now, one thing that's going to be interesting to watch for, though, is that Dignitas pushed on the second wave, meaning most of these minions are now dead as that turret went down. So their second turret push is going to be very minion-light. Their cannon minion just now showing up. Curse's push is on wave 3. A lot more minions here. They'll move faster, though Dignitas is farther ahead.
Yeah, you got to keep track of that cannon minion. So important. Dignitas's cannon has just come in as well. This one should probably be able to save most of that giant wave for Curse. They've got a lot of ground to make up, though. And meanwhile, you have to always think about the mid lane as well. You know, there's so much action going on in the side lanes. That means the mid lanes get to have isolated matchups. And Void Boy was the one who got that counter pick. He's the one who's trying to use the Yasuo to punish Scar's Nidalee early, try and keep her down before level 6.
And Dignitas made their way up to the inhibitor by about 4 minutes, but Curse with the early recalls are going to make their way back. So +1 turret for Dignitas. However, Cop is still in that side lane, shoving it down into the tier 2 turret, getting a bit of a minion lead for that. See how much that pays out.
Noting the Curse back time here for Void Boy. He's timed his back when everybody goes invisible from the bottom lane push. He does not want to be one of those mid laners that gets ganked. He's a melee champion. He usually has to be fairly far up in that mid lane, and we've seen several mid laners since the inception of this new meta be ganked by surprise support ganks mid or something after they're done pushing.
Yeah.
The boy will not be caught off guard.
It looks like there's not going to be many surprise ganks in general. Look at the item builds. I will dominate Void Boy both. Grab dual wards on their way back to the base. Machete plus double Doran's Blade here, so the investment in early power, a lot of vision here. Curse setting up for an early vision game.
Yeah, also in these 4 versus 0, I guess, switches, you also have to know what each team is going to do with their wave that was shoved all the way in. Looks like both of them are opting to try and push it back. They're not trying to have any deep freezes here. Dignitas, they at least have one extra turret to fall back on for Jax, and they're happy to funnel all of their extra side lane farm into that Jax. They want their solo laner to be more of an impact towards that mid game, because if they do not have him with that teleport, then they're going to lose out on the first dragon.
Kiwi Kid already killed one of the pink wards, but walked right by the second. So Curse invested 200 gold, lost half it.
Dignitas talked about what are they going to do with the big wave. They move up top. They get the early positioning here.
All right, well, Cop saves him with the Summoner heal. He might have been okay anyway, but Summoner burn just to get him out of there quickly. 3-man defense up here. Quas pushing the bottom lane by himself. Cruiser will TP down there to defend. Scarra and Voyboy in a battle. Level 5 versus 4, actually a bit of a lead there.
And look at this swing from Dignitas. They send everybody up top to make Curse react to them. They have all their resources trying to defend that turret, and Dignitas abandoned their giant wave. That's the huge wave that you usually see teams pushing with, but they make a really good call. They use their teleport down bottom, catch that wave at their turret, and actually swing everybody towards the mid.
A bit of damage for it. Cocoon goes on to I Will Dominate, actually. Curse on the back foot with all of these moves here. Cruiser did get some farm in the bottom lane. They're 37 to 29 across those guys. And the Jax is really scaling. He is level 6. Mundo not yet there. Cruiser got a good deal with these lanes.
Yeah, so what they did here with Dignitas is not only did they funnel, mid lane.
Big engage. Kiwi Kid very low on health, but the damage comes back. First blood goes through to Dignitas. Cutie Pie trying to get his team to safety, but Voyboy gets the knockup. Still getting the damage across. The counterattack by Curse looking pretty good. One hit to go on Crumbs. Boy gets in turret range, has to flash. He is one hit from dead. Little over aggressive.
Yeah, 1 versus 1 exchange there for Curse initiating when they still only had 3 people, so it's sort of a 3 versus 4 for a small amount of time. And they only trade kills. Very dangerous for them. And it's good for Dignitas now that Scarra has finally hit that level 6. We will look for the blue buffs next time around. Let's see here. How far is Corky? He's fairly close, but again, it's a little bit early. Kiwi Kid does get some distance with his flash, and it buys him enough time to get his stun off. So that was huge for them. Cop eventually does come in and answer the kill, though.
He's going to make it, though, a 600 gold lead, though, for Dignitas. Of course, they're the team that's plus a turret. But, you know, being the team that has the first blood bonus gold for 150, the extra turret's worth about 700, them being only up 600 means that the farm is going Curse's way right now. They are out CSing, getting individual gold in general on the map. So that is one thing to keep in mind for Curse, is the long laning phase so far is going their way.
One of the most interesting things about the changes to the early game is watching where teams actually choose to put their money, because before, a lot of laners' income depended on how good of a laner they were. You know, how well can you CS against your opponent and deal with jungle pressure. Now, though, teams actually get the choice early on. Who do they want to funnel that side lane farm into that's been pushed in past 2 turrets? And Dignitas are putting a lot of their money into Jax. They tried to get him that full top lane wave all the way up to the turret, and then they also teleported him down bottom to get all of that. So it's very interesting to see, and it's pretty much expected when you do have that Jax who scales so well towards the late game, to see where they want to put it. The next question that is going to come up, how will they deal with any sort of dragon pressure? Because the teleport was used for Cruiser, but it was used on a turret, and it will come back up very soon. So they can actually reposition him one more time.
Yeah, Cruiser TP up very, very soon. Quas already is there. Voyboy going to hold the lane in the top side. Looks like a rotation by Dignitas not going to pan out here, as Curse also made that move. But Cutie Pie still wants this push. He is still clearing minions up on the top side, wanting this push to work.
And he's got 3 people up top already swinging down towards mid here for Dignitas. Cop's got to be a little bit more careful.
Okay, good dodge there by Cop, but his turret very nearly dead.
And Voyboy being up top, he does not have a teleport. Dignitas could try and rush something here. They're getting the early control of this mid lane, which is really, really low.
There's the minion line. Looks like Dignitas don't want to force this. Bunny Fufu not even level 6, but they don't want to risk the engage anyway. Cruiser and Quas just chilling in the bottom lane, 8 versus 7. This matchup actually
is continually going Cruiser's way. This minion lead has gone plus 20 since I last looked at it.
Yeah, he's gone with the early burst build here for Jax, the Sheen. So that just makes his harass even more scary. In the laning phase with Jax, by the way, it's quite easy what you do. He's very strong right now. Once you hit that level 6, you auto-attack a minion twice to get your ulti proc, and then you lead strike onto them with Empowered Strike. Adding Sheen onto that is so much burst damage. He's almost like a mage at that point.
And if you fight him, he's got attack speed already. You can dodge you for a while. It works out quite nicely. He's a great laner once you hit 6. PewDiePie, he's going to get the bottom lane farm as Cruiser went back. Looks like Cruiser will hold the top lane. More well-equipped to stay in lanes with no turrets available. That's fine. Dominate still on the clears, though. It's going to be Ancient Golem for Crumbs, no surprise, but Wriggle's Lantern for Dominate. He's actually 14 stacks, and Kurt's going to start out on Dragon.
So they actually have amazing positioning on this. Should be uncontested. Now, in the last series, there was a lot of criticism for Nintendo and his management of the stacks. However, you have to remember that these games are the lane swaps, and you have to put some time into turret pushing. However, Dominate is doing a pretty good job of balancing the off time in his jungle, and also you have to remember that you can also steal away big camps from your opponent's jungle. So every time you see them available, do not be afraid to do some counter jungling.
Not right now, Dignitas. Playing it slow and steady. Curse kind of doing the same. They've actually made a good move for some global objectives, though, with that dragon going down. And the early gold lead from the first blood in the turret pretty much washed away now at this point. Pretty much even game right now. Scar happy to keep farming up, though, on Nidalee. Still just chilling with the Chalice. This mid lane turret so close to dead. But Dig don't quite commit for it.
Yeah.
PewDiePie going to kill that ward away. Nice choice.
That's why wave clear is so important in the new meta, because there's so much time spent sieging, and you want to buy as much time as you can for your jungler to be able to actually jungle. Corki's a good champion for that as far as AD carries go, but it's not enough, and they can't hold on to that mid lane. Good little move here from Dig, rotating from the mid lane after it's dead all the way up to top.
And here we are, Dignitas. Their entire lineup is here.
Quas, excuse me, has his teleport. So this could be a 5v5 if they wanted to go for it. If they're not going to go for it, they should be having Quas shove his lane as hard as possible. Oops. Sideways
wind wall right there. Late teleport comes in. Curse wait till the turret goes down, but no engage whatsoever. Dignitas, 2 turrets unanswered.
Yeah, a few little mechanical mistakes there from Curse all at the same time. Does cost them that large cooldown for teleport. They already lose the turret and don't get the fight, and they also don't get the shove down bottom. That wave that Quas was working on is not even going to hit the turret. The minion wave is going to stop right before it, and that will be PewDiePie. Very happy PewDiePie.
Yes.
Able to go soak all of that blob money right up.
They'll get to have his pie and eat it too. Ah, Javelin missed. This guy's going to try again. Put the trap down. There he goes. Blue buff for himself. Even if it didn't, if you didn't hit the turret quickly, like Cruiser still had TP, there was almost no way that was going to nobody.
Yeah, that was just perfect timing there, though. That's going to be a stacked up Bloodthirster. Perfect for PewDiePie. The other thing that's good for them, as we just saw, controlling blue buff. They didn't have any hard time with it, even though it was the dual invade and both teams exchanged blue buffs. There was no small lizard left there to delay the respawn of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was theirs at the very beginning of it all, and they kept it going. So it's interesting to me that Curse is playing so slowly in this game. It feels like one of the games where they lost to CLG, where they were so afraid to make any moves that Counterlogic Gaming like kept pushing, and Curse never actually went to go engage. Like, well, this one's not good yet. This one's not good yet. Dignitas have now answered 4 turrets in the mid game. Curse have engaged exactly 1 fight. No one's making any plays.
I think they've been trying to accommodate the Pharaoh Flare jungler into the lineup here. They were doing their best to hold all of these moves from Dig without having to call Dominate, because he's not going to do that much at a turret. Xin Sao, not that great when compared to Elise when he's sieging up. Crumbs will obviously have a pretty big advantage in that, able to harass under turret and be ranged. So Curse are sort of biding their time early. I think the biggest mistake for them was that top lane move. They wanted to finally go for it. That was their hard engage. It's the hard engage versus Nidalee. You need to actually make that play work for them to stay more even in this game.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see 2 minutes till Dragon. That's going to be maybe the next big fight. Dignitas still working the map. Now, Dominate's at 24 stacks now, so he's about at a 15-minute combine, which is still a rather quick clip.
It's really good time for the swap that happened.
Yeah.
And that's what I was talking about, how they were sort of sacrificing little things to try and get him to that point. It's such a huge burst in power when you get the conversion up to a Feral Flare. Because then not only will it stack with the monsters, but also the kills and assists. And the sustain with Xin Sao is amazing. If he builds one defensive item after this, then he will be a fairly effective tank as long as he's able to continue attacking throughout the fight.
Okay, well, here's the test. Curse, they've got nothing else to wait for now. I feel like Jax would likely outscale Dr. Mundo. I mean, Yasuo's always going to be great, but with an exhausting enemy team, you have to question how often do you have to fight to make that finally pay off. Scar, of course, with the Athene's already done. Interestingly enough, actually, doing Athene's versus a physical damage mid laner. You often see all kinds of different builds when you fight, somebody's going to be in your face, deal a lot of AD. But Scar wanting the regen, wanting the siege build.
Yeah. That plus blue buff will be plenty for him. It's interesting, the summer spells now. Okay, double man gank up top.
Nope.
Negative. Now, do you think we will progress to the point where everybody's just running heals and exhaust and teleports, and we even forego flash? Because they're so strong right now, and heal actually gives some move speed. Wait till we see a team fight where there's 4 exhausts.
5 heals, 4 exhausts, and a smite.
Yeah.
I actually wonder, like, I'll entertain the thought, right?
Just try it, and that will be hilarious.
Yeah.
Nobody does any damage.
5 heals the dream. And you run Soraka Lulu.
Oh god.
Support Karma. AD carry could be Sion.
I am interested to see how the first fight does come out, though, because Scarra's exhaust will be extremely important.
Buddy Fufu gets exploded over the wall. Nothing's going to save him there. Down he goes.
Yeah, that's what we talked about in Champ Select, why Dignitas rely on Kiwi Kid for a lot of the plays to be made, and why they locked in that Annie pretty early for them. Vision control around Dragon comes back up, and they get the jump on Team Curse. Rewarded with an objective. Curse are in a bad spot trying to answer Dragon with mid-turret pressure.
So Quas going to run away. Double Ruby Crystal still in the inventory, actually. Going to wait for a while to combine those the rest of the way up. But Dignitas, now the inside track in the mid lane. Good Javelin hits I Will Dominate. Cruiser going to zone the team away, put a ward down as well. Dignitas are going to stay for this one, but Bunny Fufu off of the wings has the ulti. Puts it down. They stun Crumbs. Quas comes in. Voidway off the wings. He's got 2 Qs to go to the knockout. Puts the wind wall down. Goes back to the engage. Cruiser in the air. They don't go for that one yet, though. The flash is coming across the wall.
He exhausted
the chase still coming through. Cruiser versus Dominate. Dominate wins that fight. Looks like Curse are picking up kills. Voidway still has the ulti to re-engage. Dignitas run away.
So right before this, I called out where is Scar going to use his exhaust. It was down on Mundo. The Sunfire Cape Rush Mundo. Not going to deny a lot of damage, and this is the hard engage versus the Nidalee comp. This is the give and take. Yes, it was a 1-team fight for Curse, but they're still behind in gold, and they've got a long ways to go. Great Solar Flare from Bunny Fufu. They get the engage, and the fallout from damage is quite nice. Dominate comes right in, and they're able to lock up Cruiser here. The exhaust going down on Jax to keep his damage low. Nice jump there from Dominate. The confidence to go after Jax.
Yeah. I'm actually so surprised that Jax even died in a very auto-attack heavy team fight. That he's dealing with Xin Zhao, he's dealing with Yasuo, dealing with Corki, and he's like, actually got focused down pretty early on and died. I'm surprised that a champion who generally excels at not getting auto-attacked was a target and didn't fall.
The double heals also did a lot of work for Curse there. Quas, as we said on Mundo, bringing even more to the team fight because he is running a heal.
Yeah. And I mean, he's going to get Spirit Visage very soon. He's started the recipe on that one already.
Like, we saw the difference between Flash and heal. This is why I'm bringing up the point of actually dropping Flash, which is nobody has done in a very long time. We saw in that team fight, Cruiser uses his Flash. He flashes out of the fight, but he still dies because Dominate can follow him. But
Dominate flashed.
Whereas Quas was able to add healing for everybody. So yeah, the answer to Flash, more flashes still, so probably won't see it drop off, but I do like the move on Mundo.
Just bring teleport. It's like a longer range flash.
Well, he's got that as well for you.
Yeah. There you go. See? Made it happen. Replace that summoner. Heals to stay. Flash is optional.
Ooh, gets it right in behind that minion.
And that's before any magic pen or the completed death caps. That will get scarier. Skara doing his piece-by-piece wave clear, sniping out some caster minions. Pink ward coverage for Dignitas. Looks like Curse is going to let him have this one. Quasten on the top lane. Uh-oh, getting a lot of damage onto him. Bursted down. Cruiser gets the kill credit. 3,000 gold to Dignitas.
Now that's going to give them control of this top lane. They also have a wave coming in, and Nidalee has blue buff. This is perfect scenario for Dignitas. They would love to siege up at this outer turret here and throw spears for as long as they can. Well, I see how well Voyboy can try and protect this with his wind wall. Looks like they don't even want to get close because the dive would be very, very, very real.
It's true. It's 4v5 without any kind of a big front line. Dignitas going to stay, take the damage for it. QtPie picks it up. 5-1 in turrets now. Dignitas well winning the objective game.
And they also run right after that turret goes down because they just saw Quas come up and his teleport is available. They did not want to get another solar flare locking them down.
You know what's interesting about the way this is playing actually is Dignitas have forfeited the last couple of dragons. They're only playing when they get the damage in, when they get the picks. But it's interesting, if Dig keep forfeiting dragons, they have to push quickly because they're basically getting 1 to 2 turrets per dragon that Curse gets, right? And if they can keep that pace, they'll stay ahead in gold. Uh-oh, Kiwi Kid might get turned into a smoothie there. I will dominate going in. 1 hit to go, takes the solo kill. That was nicely done.
Yeah, he might have been able to run a little closer towards Skara, but Kiwi Kid was pretty much dead there. Now the dive could come from Curse.
Here we go, slow in from Quas. Skara has nowhere to go except backwards. 1 more hit, puts the exhaust down again, and he goes down to Cop. Another kill now. Curse, keep finding random kills and getting their sieges off that.
Yeah, not only did they get that solo kill, but also the exhaust is going to be down for the next team fight. Meanwhile, dual push here from Dignitas.
That TV's going to stop. He killed the turret. There's no defense right now. QtPie can keep going.
Yeah, though you want the reduced cooldown by teleporting to a turret, you have to use it on a minion because they can't actually kill a minion. The turret can go down. QtPie with a great job, no fear, is able to get the top turret. It's 2 for 1 for Dig here as far as the pushes are concerned.
Will QtPie stay? It's going to be a bad fight. He'll die if he stays for it, most likely. He's going to try to make his escape now. A little bit low on health. Dashes away, gets rid of the slow, but Quas, I don't think he's going to be stopped.
Yeah. QtPie's trying to run over to Jax for some support, but Cruiser.
Summoner heal comes out, the dodge. They get the inhibitor, actually. Quas, now she's forced to defend against Cruiser. QtPie gets away, but he's getting chased by Curse right now.
Yeah, Cruiser runs the opposite way. This is a great strategy here. The crisscross from Dignitas.
Oh,
they get QtPie out the bottom and Cruiser up the top here.
Void doesn't have boots. He couldn't chase down against Lucian. Static Shiv, not as good as boots do.
Oh man, the switcheroo there from Dig. What a beautiful play from them.
Double inhibitor take versus mid inhib being down. What a counterattack. Dignitas continuing to out-strategically play Curse.
Yeah, that was amazing. Skara gets dove mid, and Dignitas make the call to push both sides, gaining so much more than Curse.
So now, Curse, how well can you hold on to these minion waves? Because there's a bunch of gold flooding in. There's 2 basically one-sided minion waves that Curse can farm for XP and gold. So how well does Dig siege mid? How well do they control Dragon and Baron? Or can they siege off the super minions?
I don't know. That was just such a huge swing in power in the last 2 minutes. Curse didn't even get the middle inhibitor after taking down that inhibitor turret, since they all were trying to cut off both members of Dignitas that did the pushing. So much momentum there for Dignitas.
We're going to see another objective go their way. So, 3,000 gold. Interestingly, the gold is actually incredibly still close between these 2 teams. Dignitas up 3 turrets, but the kills are close, right? Minions going back and forth. I'm amazed like how much it feels like Dig are able to create these advantages on very similar powered teams right now.
Yeah, well, it's not like their power is going to fall off either. They've got the Jax and they've got the Nidalee. Like, they are very happy going towards the late game with 2 inhibitors down. They can even, you know, do sneaky Barons. It's a Trinity Force Blade of the Ruin King Jax. He can do a duo Baron, and they can control mid lane with a blue buff Nidalee. So there's so many options now for Dignitas.
Yeah, well, right now Dig are sweeping away the wards inside of Baron, but there's one to the left that they don't see right now. Quas still holding down to this bottom lane, a giant wave up in the top as well. And Dignitas are going to start this one out. Cruiser's going to get seen, I think, going in towards this.
Not sure if that outer ward. He did ward hop to it, so they might have got a glimpse, but 2 inhibitors down means there's so much pressure. And with the other 3 members of Dig zoning, I don't think there's any way that Curse could actually face check that without terrible results.
Yeah, you're right, Curse aren't even going to try. Quas actually back to his Nexus turrets defending. Baron goes down to Dignitas. 4,000 gold lead, 2 of 3 dragons, the only Baron, of course. And they can make that siege even better next time.
Yeah, this is going to be a pretty strong push from Dig here. This might be game-ending siege. They've got that purple and blue Nidalee, and Jax, once he gets Baron buff, is ridiculous, benefiting from both the AP and the AD that it gives. This should be Dignitas making quick work of the mid.
It's going to take a bunch of damage. All of Curse will converge when they can. Voyboy not going to win all that yet.
So here's what's going to happen is Curse is going to have to make their last-ditch effort here. They have to go for a hard engage, and they have to try and burst down Dig before the dual lines of super minions come in. If they wait, then they are pretty much screwed.
Well, Bunny Fu just took a giant javelin. He's forced to disengage. Turret goes down. Curse stuck in their back of the base. Now 3 inhibs are going to fall. Dignitas, right now they own Curse's base.
Yeah.
Still a 5v5, but there's minions coming in. Dominate takes another javelin. Top inhib respawns. And gonna be the engage. Dominate gets the knockup. Here comes the fight. Dominate goes down though. So far 5v4. Solar Flare comes in a bit late. Comp still putting in damage to the backline. QTPie finds a second though. He finds a third. It's gonna be Curse getting routed in this fight. Bunny Fufu also going to go down. 26.5 minutes in. Dignitas find their big break. Turret number 1, turret number 2. Gonna be the Nexus. 1-0 Dignitas.
I think Dignitas showed a very good handle on the 4.5 changes here. They punish the Feral Flare play correctly. They get very early pushes going, and they continue with the pressure onto the turrets, always swinging back and forth from top to mid, and using the teleports very effectively. You have to commend Cruiser for his use of the teleport, getting a lot of farm on Jax very early so that he got to that threatening point very quickly in the game.
Yeah, and I gotta call back as well to Coach Skara.
Oh, look how happy he is.
Yeah.
Everybody, all smiles.
I mean, Kiwi Kid's literally always all smiles, but Skara definitely, the rest of the team, happy about that one. But the Coach Skara point, though, the double inhibitor take was just such a swing in that game. That caused the end game.
And it was Skara being the martyr for that play, too.
Exactly, yeah. But that's the thing, right, is like, right, Skara had those 3-4 weeks back as a coach, right, watching the scrims, informing the team. Again, all his teammates saying they loved how much Skara's tutelage helped them. And then they get the shot call to be like, yeah, you guys push those sides, right? Just the clairvoyance there to say, yeah, go for these. And then once those fell, it was just step by step till Dig won.
Yeah, how important is that macro game perspective? Extremely important, especially with the new changes that have come here.
Yep.
Dignitas just blow Curse away with this one.
Yeah, game 1 of the quarterfinals was exactly what that one was. So, Poke Comp worked out for Dignitas, right?
Yeah.
You know, split push Jax, Nidalee, Lucian, Elise there as well. Some good sort of backline support right there. Leona's there in case, or not Leona, sorry, Annie there in case you need some disengage. The picks came through for Kiwi Kid actually pretty well. Curse tried the hard engage. They had Yasuo to follow up on the Xin Zhao, to follow up off of Leona. Didn't work. Curse found so few fights. I think there were, what, 5 kills all game with a hard engage team? That's rough.
I think the draft phase is going to have to go better for Curse next time around because giving up Jax and Nidalee, those are both extremely high priority champions right now. I don't see anybody giving those 2 champions away again. I mean, remember back to the split where Coast, they won all this, like they won a streak winning with Jax and with Nidalee.
Yeah.
Just extremely strong combo.
Good thing to watch out for, guys. But for now, we're going to throw it over to the guys at the analyst desk to break down Dignitas' first win of the series.
Thank you very much, Freakin'. It was a good game from Dignitas, swinging, coming out the gates with Skara on the lineup. First pick Nidalee. I want to touch on what Kobe was saying right at the end there. Dignitas got both Jax and Nidalee. As soon as Nidalee was locked in, we were discussing how hard engage is one of the best ways to deal with the Nidalee. There was a Leona fairly on, a Yasuo. I mean, I think Curse had the tools, but they just couldn't stick to Dig long enough.
Yeah, I think they had a good ban pick phase. I think that they had the team comp they wanted to play against Nidalee. It's just people weren't hitting their abilities, and they got out-rotated at the start. You saw they took the 2 turrets to 1, and just Curse looked behind the entire game. It just looks like nerves almost. Quas was behind on CS, and people are just missing skill shots. Like that Leona engage at the top lane is the most critical point of that game. Because if that engage hits and you get off even one kill, you can start pressuring other lanes. And just people missing skill shots.
I think the one thing we underrated when we were previewing this game is Scar's like experience. A lot of these guys on Curse are coming in for the first time. Quas never played in a playoff game. Bunny Fufu's still new to the LCS. Those guys kind of folded under the pressure, and even though Scara didn't have a great game, he didn't choke, right? He played solid enough on Italy to just let the game happen.
Yep, he showed up, did his job. I mean, he didn't really have to make any like flashy or clutch plays. Like, hey, I'm here, I'm throwing spears and healing.
The clutchest play that he probably made is when he died in the mid lane because he distracted them long enough to kill 2 inhibitors.
On the same token, the decision-making from Dignitas seemed to be very smart. They, as we talked about, they pressured the side lanes. They kept Curse sort of on the back foot, and every time Curse did engage, as you're saying, it didn't connect well enough. So talk to me about the map pressure that Dignitas was creating and moving around the map. Was it what we expect on 4.5? Where does it rank in terms of overall map movements in contrast to the previous series by CLG, for example?
I mean, it looked pretty similar to how CLG was playing, but I'd say it's more mistakes by Curse that it looks so good because they weren't ready and waiting to kill people when they were trying to deny them vision or putting wards in. When you're putting wards in people's jungle, you're going to expose yourself. You have to blindly go into the jungle, and you could face check the wrong brush, and you could just get instantly killed. And because Curse was just behind on that, and not ready and waiting, and not ready waiting to get the picks, just nothing ever happened, and they just slowly lost, and they bled out.
Yeah, as far as it being a slow loss, I think it was more about just one really bad set of errors that was too much to recover.
That didn't help either.
Well,
I'm going down.
I'm happy you bring it up because that's actually the replay that we've got. Let's pull the replay up onto your screens. Before the inhibs go down, it does actually start with Curse getting some kills. So let's roll this replay through. Jat, talk us through this mid-game fight to
at this point, Curse has been waiting so long to try and find an initiation. When they want to get Scar, they just all pile on. But think about where they actually had to commit here. That's 5 people strong to get 1 kill on an Italy in between turrets. And when they go that far, even recalling in between turrets is impossible. So the earliest they could have gotten back would have been Quas teleporting to a minion. But as Saint pointed out earlier, he actually teleported to a turret, which went down, which delayed his back even farther. And at this point, because they had dove so far through, the backup just didn't arrive for the rest of Curse. And Quas, there's not much more he can do on Tank Mundo when there's 2 damage dealers killing inhibitors.
Yeah, I think getting greedy for that teleport was really big. Yeah, it cost him not only top inhib, but bottom inhib too. So just can't be greedy with the summoners.
22 minutes into the game, Super Minions down both lanes. Outside of Curse overcommitting in the mid lane, who needs to get their targets aligned? You know, we talked about in the previous game, they try to find engages. They had an engage comp. They over-aggressed on the engage. How do they fix this now?
I think we just need to take a deep breath and just play it out. I mean, that game literally just looked like nerves to me. I mean, yes, Dignitas had a really good early rotation. I loved what they did where they're like, oh, well, you know what? I'm not even going to get level 3. I'm just going to go start pushing a level 2. Like, what are you going to do about it? And I really like that play. But I think that Curse could have stabilized after that. And it just, nobody was on point. Nobody was being proactive. They're just waiting. They're being reactive rather than proactive.
Anybody outside of Scar on Dignitas' side that stands out in your mind? We talked about Crumbs in particular. Yeah. He picked up Elise again. Elise has fallen somewhat out of favor in recent weeks. Did a pretty good job overall, but I mean, what do you think of his performance and his map pressure himself?
As long as Crumbs is still in the role that he was in mid-season where he's making the majority of the strategic calls for Dignitas, he played fantastically. Just knowing where his minion waves were and when Dignitas did that 2-man on the side push, because honestly, that decision, those 2 minutes, decided the game. It was anyone's game before that, but because the minion waves got out of control, because they had 2 split pushers going at the same time, they were just in a position to win. And because Curse dove in on them, I mean, that has to go to I Will Dominate there. Or no, the other way.
The other way around. Now, on the topic of I Will Dominate, on the side of Curse, picked up the Xin Zhao, got the Feral Flare, sort of mid-tier from what we've seen of the games today already, but a lot of Feral Flare junglers. Xin Zhao didn't do a whole lot to defend against that very map strategic push. Does I Will Dominate have other champions in his pool to maybe help counter if Dignitas do the same strategy or same style of play?
I mean, he definitely has other junglers he plays. Like, he's played junglers that aren't Feral Flare before Feral Flare got introduced. So, of course, he can play those champions. But I don't think that the champions are going to be... I actually like their team comp they had there. I thought it would have been really great if they just got the picks they needed. They just need to start going out and being proactive. They have to go do stuff rather than like, hey, like, you're taking our turret. Like, maybe we'll show up and watch you kill it. Oh, it's dead. Like, all right, we'll see you at the next one.
So hopefully they can avoid it.
Yeah, I actually feel like that's kind of been Curse's weakness all year, though. Whenever they've been losing, we're always saying, they need to go do something, and oftentimes they just let the game lose around them, which is why I feel like they're strongest when they run the hard initiation compositions because it lets them pull the trigger. But they weren't pulling with the right time because of nerves, so they were kind of inactive with the wrong type of team composition, and it's got to be the nerves.
Yep.
Well, we'll have to see if they can fix it going into Game 2. We do have to take a very quick break, but there is still more LCS action to come. As we've mentioned, when we return, this Game 2 as Curse takes on Dignitas, who are one game away from securing a spot in the semi-finals. Keep that browser where it's at.